In this video, we will discuss certain filing requirements for Form 5471, where a U.S. citizen individual owns shares in a foreign corporation and his or her spouse also owns shares in the foreign corporation. Let's say that a U.S. citizen husband owns 51% of a foreign corporation and his non-resident alien spouse owns the remaining 49%. The husband owns more than 50% of the foreign corporation, which means that it will be a controlled foreign corporation, or CFC. As a CFC, the U.S. citizen husband will need to annually file Form 5471 as a Category 5 filer. A Category 5 filer is a U.S. shareholder who owns stock in a foreign corporation that is a CFC for an uninterrupted period of 30 days or more during the year and who owned that stock on the last day of the year. The U.S. citizen husband is also considered to control the foreign corporation. He therefore would also be a Category 4 filer. Now let's change the facts a little bit. Say that the U.S. citizen husband owns exactly 50% and his non-resident alien spouse owns the remaining 50%. In this circumstance, the foreign corporation is not a CFC. Under attribution rules, stock owned by one spouse is generally attributed to the other spouse. However, for purposes of determining whether a foreign corporation is a CFC, stock owned by a non-resident alien spouse is not attributed to a U.S. citizen. Thus, in this circumstance, the 50% owned by the non-resident alien spouse is not attributed to the U.S. citizen husband for purposes of determining whether the foreign corporation is a CFC. Since this foreign corporation is not a CFC, the U.S. citizen husband does not need to file Form 5471 as a Category 5 filer. However, for Category 4 filer purposes, the U.S. citizen husband will continue to be treated as controlling the foreign corporation. The definition of control for Category 4 filer purposes does not have the same attribution exception. Consequently, for Category 4 filer purposes, the shares owned by the non-resident alien spouse will continue to be attributed to the U.S. citizen husband, and he will be treated as having control over the foreign corporation. This means that the U.S. citizen husband must continue to annually file Form 5471 even though it is not a CFC. Let's change the facts to be a little bit more extreme. Now the U.S. citizen husband only owns 1% of the shares of the foreign corporation and the non-resident alien spouse owns 99%. Here again, the U.S. citizen husband is attributed all 99% of the shares owned by his non-resident alien spouse, and he is treated as having control over the foreign corporation. He must annually file Form 5471 as a Category 4 filer. Now let's say that the U.S. citizen husband owns none of the shares of the foreign corporation. Here an exception applies. Although he is attributed ownership of the shares held by his non-resident alien spouse, because he does not directly or indirectly own any of the shares of the foreign corporation, he is not considered a Category 4 filer, and he does not need to annually file Form 5471.